Hi everyone, myself Kirtika, working as Assistant Professor at Department of Management Studies of K.S.Rangasamy College of Technology, Tiruchendur. In this video, we are going to discuss about performance appraisal. First, what is meant by performance? Performance is the way in which employees perform their job when they are productive. Productivity implies both the concern of effectiveness and efficiency. Whereas, what is meant by appraisal? Appraisal are the judgments of the characteristics, traits, and performance of others. On the basis of these judgments, we assess the worth or value others and identify what is good or bad. So, by this, we can say that performance appraisal is a systematic and objective way of judging the relative worth or ability of an employee in performing his or her task. Performance appraisal helps to identify those who are performing their assigned task well and those who are not, and the reasons for such performance. At first, let us discuss about what is meant by performance appraisal. Performance appraisal is a process for evaluating and documenting how well an employee is carrying out his or her job. It is a part of company's performance management system. Performance appraisal are based on the employee's progress against goal set once in a year with his or her manager. Next, we shall discuss about the process of performance appraisal. First is establishing performance standards. The first is establishing the performance standards. The first step in the process of performance appraisal is setting up the performance standards which will be used to compare the actual performance of the employees. This step requires setting of criteria to judge the performance of employees as successful or unsuccessful and the degrees of their contribution to the organizational goals and objectives. Next is communicating the standards. Once the standard performancers. Next is communicating standards. Once the performance standards are set, it is the responsibility of the management to communicate the standards to all the employees of an organization. The employees should be informed and the standards should be clearly explained to the employees. The next step is measuring the actual performance. The most difficult part of performance appraisal is measuring the actual performance of the employees, that is the work done by the employees during the specified period of time. It is a continuous process which involves monitoring the performance throughout the year. This stage requires a careful selection of appropriate techniques of measurement, taking care the personal bias does not affect the outcome of the process. Then the next step is comparing actual performance with the desired performance. The actual performance is compared with the desired or standard performance. The comparison tells the deviations in the performance of employees from the standard set. Then the next step is discussing standards. Then the next step is discussing results, which means giving feedback about the performance of employees. The result of appraisal is communicated and discussed with the employee on one-to-one basis. The focus of this discussion is on communication and listening. The results, the problems, and the possible solutions are discussed with the aim of problem solving and reaching a right conclusion. Then the final step is decision making. The purpose of conducting employee performance appraisal is for making decisions about employees without any bias by the HR manager. Decision making by HR managers about the employee rewarding, promotions, demotions, transfers, and sometimes suspensions or dismissal of the employees are dependent upon the employee's performance appraisal. The decision taken by the HR manager should match exactly with the performance appraisal results of the employee to avoid grievance or disturbances in between them as they affect the overall performance of an organization. Next, we shall discuss about methods of performance appraisal. Here, we will be discussing about two kinds of methods, that is traditional method and modern methods. First, let us discuss about traditional methods. First is essay appraisal. The evaluation based on the individual facts and often evidences available. It is non-quantitative techniques. Next is ranking method. It is the simplest and oldest method. Every employee is judged as a whole without distinguishing the rates from his performance. Next is paired comparisons. Every person is compared triad-wise with other person one at a time. The number of times the one person is compared with others helps to yield rank order of employees. Next is critical instant method. In this method, the reaction of employee, next is critical instant method. In this method, the employee's performance or employee's behavior which is exhibited during that particular instant will be evaluated, and based on that his performance will be evaluated. Next is field review. In this field review, an expert from the personal department interviews line supervisors to evaluate their respective subordinates. Next is forced distribution. This method Next is forced distribution. This method minimizes raises. Next is forced distribution. This method minimizes rates bias, so all the employees are not similarly rated. Next is checklist method. This describes the characteristics and performance of employees' behavior in the job. Next is graphical rating scale. Simplest and most popular rating scale list triads and a range of performance values for each triad. Next is modern method. First is assessment center. The purpose of this method is to test candidate in social situation using a number of assessors and variety of producers. Next is modern methods. First we shall discuss about assessment center. The purpose of this method is to test candidates in a social situation using a number of assessors and a variety of procedures. Next is human resource accounting. This is attached with the money values to the values of a firm's internal human resources and external goodwill. Next is behavioral anchor rating scale, that is BARS. It proponents claims that it provides better, more equitable appraisals than other tools. And the next method is management by objectives. It sets some measurable goals with each employee and then periodically discuss his progress towards these goals. Next is 360-degree performance management. It is a systematic collection of data on an individual or group. It is a broader perspective of an employee. Next, we shall discuss about problems in performance appraisal. First is halo effect. It is a tendency of the rater to depend exclusively on the rating of one trait or behavioral consideration in rating all other triads or behavioral considerations. Then the next is the error of central tendency. So, some raters follow play-safe policy in rating by all the employees around the middle point of the rating scale, and they avoid rating the people at both the extremes of the scale. They follow play-safe policy because of answerability to the management or lack of knowledge about the job and person he is rating. Next is the leniency or strictness. The leniency bias crops when some raters have a tendency to be liberal in their rating by assessing higher rate consistency. Such ratings do not serve any purpose, equally damaging one and assisting consistency in low rates. This is personal prejudice. If the rater dislikes the employee or any group, he may rate them at the lower end, which may distort the rating purpose and affect the career of these employees. Next is the recent performance effect, which is also called as the recency error. The raters generally remember the recent actions of an employee at the time of rating and the rate on the bias of these recent actions, favorable or unfavorable, that can be against the employees too. Next is benefits of performance appraisal. So with this performance appraisal, when an employee's performance are good, it helps him to create a career growth. Next is it improves performance. When an employee's performance is lagging, through this performance appraisal process, a particular employee can improve his performance. Then next is increased employee engagement. Employee will be more engaged to his work. Then next is helping in determined training needs. So whenever employee's performance is lagging, we need to give training. So training need can be assessed with this performance appraisal process. Next is clarifies expectations. What are the expectations that an employer or the company have towards the employee? That can be also known through this performance appraisal process. Next is allows for conversation. It allows a conversation or communication between the employees and also between the employer. Next is it provides documentation. The employee's performance and everything related to every information related to employee will be documented, and it can be used for future uses also. So yes, thank you for watching this video. Thank you.